one more respondent, then we'll have a panel, and then we can all get involved in the conversation. So our third respondent is Brian Green, who is the Director of Technology Ethics at Mark Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University. His work is focused on the ethics of technology, including such topics as AI and ethics, the ethics of space exploration and use, the ethics of technological manipulation of humans, the ethics of mitigation and adaptation towards risky emerging technologies, and the relationship of technology and religion with the Catholic Church. Brian teaches AI ethics at the Graduate School of Engineering. He is co-author of the Ethics in Technology Practice, Corporate Technology Ethics Resources. And I'll say one word on a personal note. As with Greg, I so appreciate having been on Brian's doctoral dissertation. I've learned so much from him, especially in ethics. My field is theology. Wonderful, wonderful experience. But I'll tell you one brief comment on the beginning of that project. Brian was working moral Catholic theology, so you bring your ethics out of nature in a certain sense. It's way too short, but it's good to run across. And the nature he was studying was human nature and the modification by genetic manipulation. So I said to Brian, how are you going to drive normative ethics from moving base? And that was the beginning of a long, wonderful conversation. Your response was your dissertation. So please welcome him.
Brian, feel free to slide over. It's the top of the blinds there. I can't do anything about the light. So.
And can you turn the slide off? Or?
Yeah.
I'm not going to use the slides. So.
If you just the next one will go to blue, I think there's a blank slide, that's helpful.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that'll be great. All right, so actually I can just move the computer down. All right, I'm going to be super boring respondent because I have a paper that I'm going to read, but so I apologize for that if there are so many things going on in technology ethics right now. It's like, oh. But I did manage to still write this, so I'm really, really proud of myself. All right, so my paper is called The Ignorance of the Churches. A technological extension of Moritz's What Has Science to Do with Youth Ministry. So I'll just say Joshua Moritz is very convincing in his analysis of the importance of science in contemporary youth ministry, and his recommendations for action are astute and comprehensive. But I would like to take Moritz's thesis one step further. Contemporary Christianity's lack of engagement with science is perhaps only exceeded by its lack of engagement with technology. And that is perhaps an even more egregious error, at least for our times right now. While the conflict thesis between theology and science forms theoretical underpinnings of the current antagonism and confusion about religion, technology is a practical, immediate problem as well. Technology can be defined as know-how, but it also commonly refers to the products of that know-how, the technological products that pervade our world. People are much more likely to interact with technological products than with science in any direct sense, and those technologies, while they might have an aura of science about them, are first and foremost means of achieving human desired ends. Technology is always a know-how for the sake of some end. Science enables technology, and technology enables our desires. We know a technology is broken when it does not achieve what we want it to do. From this perspective, we perhaps ought to look at our human desires and human psychology before looking at science or technology as the cause of problems for religion. Or if we look at religion itself as a technology, one which can be construed either sacredly as our means of relating to God, or secularly as a means for the social and moral structuring of a culture, or various other ascribed uses of religion, then it might seem that perhaps religion has broken in the past 2 decades. It no longer gives people what they want. Can we restore religion to giving people what they want? Or should we instead help people to want different things that religion can provide? I think the answer is both. Not only is religion broken, but people are broken as well, and technology is associated with both breakages. In the first part of this paper, I'm going to discuss 3 ways in which contemporary humanity has broken in relation to technology. In the second part, I'll discuss 3 ways in which religion has broken in relation to technology. And in the third part, I will describe 3 ways that technology can help restore both humanity and religion to a more harmonious existence. So 1, how has humanity broken in relation to technology? Through constant exploitation of human psychological weaknesses, some technological products prey upon us and make us into worse people, people fit for a fake world and not the real world around us, much less heaven. 1A, immediate gratification, supernormal stimuli, and derealization. The purpose of entertainment has always been to offer a supernormal stimulus which attracts human attention and gives us enjoyment. There is nothing intrinsically wrong with this. Indeed, there can be very good things about it, provided the entertainment does not exploit people, promote vice, or other bad things. And in fact, entertainment may be educational or lift our spirits and spirituality. However, contemporary entertainment has been honed to a psychological art, and the constant blast of supernormal stimuli and immediate gratification brought on by addictive smartphones and their apps can only serve to drain the rest of reality of its pleasure. By constantly offering us immediate gratification, these technologies can make the real world, including real relationships, seem frustrating. Who wants to live in a frustratingly slow and non-gamified reality when instead there is a virtual reality, and that's whether under goggles or not under goggles, which is so much more satisfying? Real people will seem horribly difficult to deal with compared to the fake humans designed to entertain us. Pleasure is always relative, and so reality loses its attractiveness, and worse things can happen. There is a disturbing phenomenon associated with virtual reality known as derealization. Typically previously associated with abnormal psychology or drug use, VR-induced derealization occurs when one removes the virtual reality goggles only to discover that the real world no longer seems real. While VR goggles make this phenomenon acutely problematic, I think it is likely that the world of screens has led some people to experience a mild form of derealization in a more or less constant way, perhaps particularly among the young. Psychologically breaking ourselves away from God's universe and aligning ourselves with purely human-centered one, perhaps even one where vices and violence are normalized and the divine is completely alien, cannot but harm our spirituality and injure our ability to relate to God. By the way, I first learned about this from people who are very invested in VR technology. They said, hey, we'd like to do something with VR, but we're having this problem. So this is a well-known and very destructive phenomenon. Needless to say, even without derealization, the more time spent adapting to fake reality and the less time adapted to real reality we will be, which leads to the next point. B, distraction, attention deficit, and stunted human development. In his Pensées, Blaise Pascal comments that amusement and occupation keep us from our own thoughts, and in so doing thereby keep us away from God. Nowadays we have both amusement and occupation to an extreme degree. We work hard and play hard, but to what end? Smartphones and their apps are designed to be addictive and induce psychological dependency. Our time is worth money, and corporations seek to soak up as much of our time as they can in order to generate money. We are yanked on dopamine chains with each ding of our smartphones. Religion and metaphysical questions never cross one's mind because they are simply not interesting enough relative to the constant barrage of entertainment and distraction. Through our habituation towards technologies that cater to our every whim, we are stunted in our moral development, never learning temperance or courage or wisdom. We are reduced into infants rather than growing into adults. Whether it is greed, lust, gluttony, wrath, or any number of other deadly sins, technology preys upon us, or rather, other humans prey upon us through technology, and the end user bears the psychological and behavioral scars of that exploitation. Letter C, the corruption of desire. The above two phenomena, loss of interest in the real world and stunted human development, combine to corrupt human desire. If there is a natural human desire for God, we now have more powerful and comprehensive ways to suppress this than humans have ever had before. And this is not being forced on us against our will. Instead, we like it and we seek it out. Technology fulfills our desires immediately and without qualification. The real world does not. In fact, the real world oppresses and exploits us, shoving us further towards our screens. We should learn to want something else. If religion was once the opium of the people, it is now technology that fills that role. But just as religion can also be the amphetamine of the people, so might technology be, if only we harness it towards that end. All right, section 2. How has religion broken in relation to technology? Well, we should not assume that all past humans were deeply religious and that we have fallen into an unprecedented state of unbelief. We can know that in the past few decades, religious belief has indeed declined in the Western world. Technology is related to some of these declines. obscuring our natural ways of connecting with the spiritual and divine and shifting our mentality away from divine things. A, the technological world obscuring God's creation. In his 2004 book, Why Would Anyone Believe in God?, Justin Barrett argues that there are several aspects of modern society that distance humans from belief in God. Hans Jonas makes a similar observation in his book, The Phenomenon of Life, when he notes that in the past the universe seemed alive and therefore death is what needed to be explained. Now, because of science and technology, the universe seems dead and therefore life must be explained. This shift from understanding life as natural to viewing death as natural is partly explained in a remote causal sense by the scientific revolution, but its most direct manifestations are in the form of dead technology and the direct effects of that thanatos technology that humans have spread across the earth: asphalt, concrete, steel, plowed fields of dirt, clear-cut forests, strip-mined hills, and ocean dead zones. Even the very air we breathe has been shifted towards death, as carbon dioxide and methane levels rise and oxygen decreases. Everyone talks about CO2 levels going up. There is a concomitant lowering of oxygen levels in the atmosphere, which I have not heard anyone talk about this, but I've talked to scientists about it who say, yes, that's happening. If nature inspires awe and even belief in God, as Francis Collins describes in his book, The Language of God, then lack of nature may fail to inspire awe and belief. Instead of a natural world inspiring in us appreciation for the author of nature, we see an unnatural world inspiring in us an appreciation for human power. Our technology has made us more powerful than the old gods of polytheism. Thor and Zeus are nothing compared to a hydrogen bomb, and Neptune shrinks before the climate change-induced sea level rise. Small nature gods recede, and the work of the monotheistic God of nature becomes obscured under a man-made technological graffiti across creation. B, the metaphysical, materialistic, and mechanistic mentality. Even more so than science, technology contributes to a metaphysically materialistic and mechanistic mentality. See, I thought I was smart using all those M's, but it's actually pretty hard to say. When humans are focused on the here and now and physical rather than the universe, the future, and the spiritual, just as happened with modern science becoming scientism, where methodological reductionism slipped into ontological reductionism, now this reductionistic materialism has become even more ingrained in us through the machines and electronics with which we literally surround ourselves. This same mentality shows itself in economics also. Both capitalism and Marxism reduce humans to workers or consumers, merely cogs in the social machine. And Marxism is not gone, by the way. China is merely downplaying it temporarily while on the long march towards the progressive communist utopia. I was just talking to Stan about this. Division of labor plays a secondary role also, constantly shortening our horizons so that more and more is not in our view, not only not in our view, but out of our thoughts completely. Society is continuously fragmented into smaller and smaller groups. Religious people, quote unquote, think about religion, but that's just their thing. Thinking about religion is no longer normal. Indeed, the concept of normal no longer really exists. There's a materialist utopianism in this mentality, which is also worth pointing out. Someone once asked me as a half joke, does heaven have free Wi-Fi? And under that joke was an insight into the decline of religion. Religious visions simply no longer appeal. For our ancestors, the idea of singing in a community, feasting, spending time with family and friends, telling stories, that was all a good life, worthy of eternity. Nowadays, technologically addled humanity wonders at the lack of stimulation. How boring, things are better on earth right now, and therefore immortality and holding on to the current social structure with more technology, please, seems like much better goals. We have given ourselves unnatural appetites, and if heaven is the fulfillment of nature, then we are unfit for such a place. We wouldn't like it there. We'd rather be staring at a screen. Being out of touch, this is letter C, being out of touch with cutting-edge technology and technology-enabled trends. Contemporary Christianity's lack of interest in both science and technology can only be characterized, I think, as gross negligence. Christian churches not only do not lead on scientific and technological thinking, they positively lag behind. What thinking they do put forth on technology tends to be negative and curmudgeonly. I'm not saying there's nothing to be curmudgeonly about, and there's plenty to critique about contemporary technology, and I'm doing it right here. But if the only thing people ever hear from Christians is that technology is bad, and yet that technology is demonstrably enhancing many aspects of human life every single day, then Christians have seriously failed to properly engage the world. Christians have contributed much to the history of the development of technology and still do, but we rarely hear about it. And this gets to the idea of having some people to appeal to here are some figures who are doing this work. Being so terribly out of touch on issues related to science and technology makes churches look all too human. Surely if churches were divine, they might have more interest in the number one most influential aspect of contemporary life, wouldn't they? Would God allow churches to be so grossly negligent? And the answer is, of course, God does allow churches to be so grossly negligent. All you have to do is look at the Bible. It happens all the time there. The Hebrews and the early Christians made numerous blunders, yet somehow managed to survive and grow, which reminds me of a joke. The greatest proof for the existence of God is that despite 2,000 years of utter mismanagement, Christianity still exists. That should probably be expanded to the entire history of God's relationship with all of humanity. That should, in a strange sort of way, give us hope. It should also give us motivation to do better. All right, in sum of sections 1 and 2, religion no longer gives what people desire. Technology is not only distorting our humanity away from God, but it is also contributed to making religion, and indeed much of reality along with it, confusing and unattractive. Religion no longer gives what people desire, but that is not only the fault of religion not delivering, it is also the fault of people not wanting the right things. Given this situation, what might be done to help restore humanity and religion to a better relationship, and how might technology help? Of the above 6 things, simply avoiding them would be a good start. Stopping technology's distortions of humanity and remedying the distortions of religion. But technology is a means to an end, and if we desire to do more with it, we most certainly can. That is what technology is for. So section 3, can technology help to restore humanity and religion? To quote the science fiction author Philip K. Dick, we await the divine invasion here in the real world, but perhaps Christians can wage our own divine invasion into technology through technology itself. Can we use technology to enhance our spiritual and religious lives? A, technology to enhance community. Communication and transportation technologies enhance our capacity for enduring ties. We can maintain contact better than ever before, for example, seeing family, friends, and religious leaders in person thanks to transportation, or remotely via the internet. Importantly, real face-to-face contact seems to be genuinely irreplaceable. There are lots of studies demonstrating that, and the reduction of that face-to-face interaction is actually a major cause of psychological harm to people. As meeting places, churches should build on this strength, and while utilizing new community-building technologies when appropriate, should even more so promote direct, unmediated human community. Singing in church, sharing food, and telling stories are a worthy way to spend time. We can resist our smartphones for an hour or even more, or use our smartphones to pray together around the world. I just learned about this app where it shows everybody who's using the app to pray together at the same time, which I think is a kind of a fascinating idea. Not saying that you have to use that app, but it builds a sense of community when you see everyone around the world using it. These technologies exist, but they could be improved and utilized more effectively. B, technology to enhance morality. We could avoid making the dystopian fake world that makes reality undesirable and instead use our technological tools to train us into being better people. The fake world of virtual reality, once again under goggles or not, could instead become a practice world where we learn to become better people through accelerated moral learning catered by AI towards moral growth of each student. This practice reality could help dramatically in the cultivation of the talented individuals that we will need in order to govern our technology and political bodies in the future. Some nations may choose more extreme measures to promote ethics, such as the Chinese social credit score system. While these moralizing technologies will be possible, it is absolutely necessary that technologies neither ignore our moral development nor infantilize us through extreme social controls. Because if you're constantly being controlled by an external force, you never develop that moral control of yourself. You're always relative to some external force. All right, C, technology to enhance spirituality. Religion's vision has become disconnected from our strange world, but religion needs to engage this disconnected vision. There are some individuals and groups that have begun to do this, several in quite idiosyncratic ways. Christian transhumanism and Mormon transhumanism seek to unite technology and religion into a tightly bound worldview where technology serves salvation directly. So there's an example of a group that's already doing something, but you can look at them and say, I don't know if I agree with that. Billionaire Peter Thiel has also expressed Christian transhumanist views, indicating that technology is the means to salvation. And he has a fascinating article from 2015 where he talks about that. Ron Cole Turner has discussed the exploration of psychedelic pharmaceuticals for their spiritual properties. N.T. Wright has expressed that Christians need to engage the world more directly, including technology. And of course, right here at CTNS, and I'll say in a non-idiosyncratic way, but in a very sophisticated and rational way, of course, Bob Russell and Ted Peters and many associates of CTNS have certainly led the way in these matters as well, and always with the highest levels of sophistication. What further visions of Christianity and technology can we develop and share with the world? I think there is much to explore. In conclusion, I think Moritz is right that science has opened up a terrible rift near Christianity, and that it is a rift that divides many young people from it. But we should not forget the even more direct effects of technology upon us. Science may give theoretical problems to Christians, which are serious, no doubt, but technology gives practical ones. There is much work to be done at the intersection of religion, humanity, and technology, but there is great hope in all three. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian, for your comments and tour de force. That's what I was hoping you would do. I was also hoping you'd give us some steps, because I think this is the real challenge. I think you're absolutely right. I think talking about science and religion and faith and how they interact is a lot easier than interacting with the technology question. I think finding practical steps, in our youth group, we do something called Fellowship of the Phones, right? Everyone puts their phones in the Tupperware, say bye-bye to your phones while you're at youth group. Though it's a temptation, new people show up. What? I don't want to get rid of my phone. But I think stepping away, trying to experience real life, Barrett's work, the role of nature in fostering faith is phenomenal. Just the role of being out there in creation, the death of creation. I think the combination of the dying of creation and this term I'm teaching a class at our church on the Book of Revelation. I think of the verse, "Now has come the time to destroy the destroyers of my earth," right? And that's the climax when things start to turn. And you look at the structures of that, and you look at what is Babylon all about? And the messages come out of this city, and there's this whole list of economic critiques that many commentators ignore, which have to do with luxury items and other things that have to do with creating an alternate reality. So there's this critique is there in that form, and I've heard you talk about Revelation 2, the New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
As a marvel of technology, right? This flying city coming down, but the question of technology, I'm hoping, I'm hoping you have a publishable version of paper, because I want to find a way to translate that in a youth context, because I think there's a sense in my own work with undergraduates and youth that technology is an unambiguous good without the dark side that you're representing. I'm looking to find what is its use, what can it be used for, and how is it killing us and separating us from ourselves. And I think your phrase, making us unworthy for heaven, is a powerful sort of echoing in my soul when I think about the use of technology. As someone who tends to be a Luddite, I was forced to buy a smartphone this year. My other smartphone was 20 years old, and someone were to mug me, they wouldn't want it. But they dropped my network, so what can you do? And I'm resisting the allure of this smartphone. But I think there's a sense, flee from technology is maybe a message in a certain sense, but then how do we embrace it in a way that can be true and noble and good and pure? I think that's the real challenge. I look forward to future conversations on this. I'd love you to speak with youth groups.